Giga England. Could that be a thing? Could that happen? It's a possibility, I suppose. There's reasons it could make sense and some that it could not. So, of course, I have to bring on my UK expert, man on the ground, Will from Tesla Jigsaw. He has some experience in the UK, and maybe he can share some wisdom with us. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So, Will, you are in England, is that true?
I am definitely right in the middle of England, possibly one of the biggest Tesla fanboys you'll find this side of the pond, maybe. I'm sure that's a thing to show off about.
Entirely possible. Entirely possible. So there is a great article, I say, with a little bit of sarcasm because it's in the Telegraph, and the Telegraph wants me to pay to read it, and I am not interested in doing that. But Britain should make a bold offer to Elon after his German disaster. Now is the time to capitalize on Tesla's crisis in Berlin. What do you think?
Well, yes, it jolly well should, shouldn't it? It would be about time that we get a gigafactory in the UK. And I'm not sure to say call it a disaster in Germany, but it must have Elon and a few Tesla executives wondering, do we really want to stay here and continue to expand and build with the risk of these eco-terrorists setting fire to our buildings and such? So, yeah, I think it would be a great thing, obviously, to come to England, build yourself a big gigafactory in somewhere like Sunderland or, any of the old car hubs that we used to have. There'll be plenty of great workers, and I feel like a politician who's trying to sell it now. But what I really want to be is I want to be the Joe Tegmeyer of the UK and just get a drone pilot, drone, and I'll go and watch it get built and stuff. That would be my pleasure.
And I would track it square by square to predict its completion. So
I imagine you would.
we'll count on that partnership happening already. If so, I have problems with opinion stories like this because you don't have to fact check an opinion story, although you probably should. In Germany, Tesla has been refused permission to expand its factories if trees have to be chopped down. It has not. That is not true. There was a non-binding vote held, which only residents of the very local area were allowed to participate in, of whom there's only, I think, 5,000 or 7,000 eligible voters. Voter participation was extremely high, something like 70%, and the vote was overwhelmingly no thank you. It is non-binding. That doesn't mean the expansion won't happen. And the amount of money pouring into the local area in terms of, forget jobs, just tax revenue, is substantial. And it may be something where the local authorities override the will of the local people and say, look, this is good for everyone, even if you don't like it. And if you want us to, and well, there's too many trucks on the road, Will. Right. But we're trying to build a rail depot and you're telling us we can't. So do you actually care about trucks on the road? So is anyone building EV factories in the UK? Do you know?
I'm sure there is quite a few actually, but I don't have that to hand at the moment. I mean, we're still left with a few sort of vehicle companies over here: Aston Martin, Bentley, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lotus, McLaren, MG, Mini, Morgan, Rolls-Royce, Vauxhall, to sort of name a few.
But Stellantis to begin EV production Stellantis at Luton from 2025.
Oh yeah, there is that one.
Yeah, seen a lot of people be critical of cargo vans like this. They say the range is too short. What is it, 100, 150, maybe 200 miles? But with commercial vehicles, consumers know their use case. If I have a delivery route, I know how many miles a day I need. And if I need 500, then, first of all, no one needs 500 for a commercial route in the UK. That's too many, I would argue.
I should just mention that just yesterday on my morning walk, I ran into an IKEA delivery driver who happened to have an electric van. So I did what every normal person would do and stopped and had a chat with him. So I asked him what he thought of it and how far it goes and was he happy. But he didn't seem the most happiest of fellas in the first place. But he did divulge that it does 170 miles range, which is enough to do the local deliveries that IKEA need to happen. And he liked the driving experience of it. But apart from that, didn't really look to be enjoying his life too much. But the van seemed all right.
Yes.
So just thought I'd throw that in.
Well, and I will say that I've seen interviews with people who are drivers of the Rivian electric Amazon vans, and they have said that they vastly prefer them to the diesel ones. They're smoother, they're quieter. The climate control actually works. They, and that's something you can say, well, just make the other guys fix theirs. Well, I mean, if they haven't in the last 100 years, I don't know why they will now. But if what you're doing all day is start and stop, an electric just makes more sense. You know how robust the starter needs to be in a truck that stops every 3 minutes? It's crazy. Now,
and I saw the thousands of Amazon trucks on a photo the other day on X. Are there any of those destined for the UK? Do you know? Are they all for?
I do not know of any. I have not heard of any exported, but that doesn't mean they're not. I'm sure that if they can make a profit on them, and I don't know if that's the case, they would be wise to just ramp like crazy, give a little less attention to the R3X, and make some money because the consumers are there. Now, when we're talking about the UK, a lot of people in America don't know what goes on outside of America, so we should tell them the UK has a history of building automobiles going back to the dawn of automobiles. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah, there's expertise. There's know-how. A lot of these people don't necessarily have a job in that industry today. The factories that have closed, the plants that have left, have only left so recently that the skills are still there to bring them back, and other factories are still there. So if you look at other production, Nissan Leaf apparently just ended their production in Sunderland. Nissan says there's still good supply of the model available, but they are no longer making it. So guys, Sunderland, I know Will said that at the start, but maybe that's a good place to look. There's some EV builders out of work. After 13 years of great success, the Leaf, the world's first mass market 100% EV, is approaching the end of its life cycle. Have you had a chance to drive the Leaf?
I have not driven the Leaf. I'm ashamed to say.
I also have not. By the time this comes out, I will have, though. I am going to be doing a video making a comparison between older gen Leafs and the newer gen Leafs. And I'll tell you, everything I've heard from the people who've owned them is that they're not exciting, but they're good cars. The only problem was they were too expensive for what they were. But that's fine. The hard fact is that even superheroes start to show their age, and the Leaf is now looking outdated compared to the latest models. Yeah, make a new model.
Yeah, it'd be easy. But to get back to the idea of a UK gigafactory, I mean, there needs to be some sort of massive incentives to dangle the carrot, perhaps for Elon. So I'm thinking like there's three things as this article sort of mentioned. So being given financial help and industrial subsidies would be a good start. And then full political backing, and if necessary, police support to deal with eco-terrorists. Because obviously in Germany, they can't even summon up the political will to arrest the trespassers from the monocrop plantation. It's not an ancient woodland; it's a deliberate cardboard forest. And then Tesla has promised to plant 3 times as many trees. So these eco-protesters cannot be holding hostage these giant factories and companies. It's just not right, is it? So hopefully the UK could at least offer a little bit more police support to deal with such people. And then the third thing, Tesla could offer one of the new investment zones, which sort of suspend the rules for non-unions and things like that. So that could also sort of speed up the process as well. I've only just heard about that, the investment zones, but they could tick quite a lot of boxes to get Elon's attention there to progress things at speed, which he's quite a big fan of.
The trick with any Western country is the political will can be there and then shift a year or 2 or 5 later, where in countries like China, the political will is set in stone. And so is, in some cases, the voting. But that's a different matter. We don't need to get into that. Governments frequently do these incentive packages where they'll do the easiest one is, we're not going to give you any money. We're going to give you a tax abatement. So for the first X number of years, we'll reduce your taxes you're still going to pay taxes. We're still getting new revenue we wouldn't otherwise get. A question I would have is, what is the export policy because of Brexit? Can these cars be sold reasonably on the continent, or is there going to be a barrier there?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a shame, that bit, isn't it?
It is a shame, that bit. And there's if you can't export, if it's just for the domestic market, I think a gigafactory would be too large. I think it would be the wrong size thing.
Well,
for
if
a
you're
single
considering,
market.
I mean, the $25,000 Tesla, I imagine that's going to go down very, very well in this country. If it can legitimately be that sort of price, I hope that when it does come out, you've not got sort of VAT and tariffs that just pile it onto £30,000. But and then the idea, though, if you got this factory and it's pumping out, many millions of $25,000 cars, and then it can also produce the future robotaxi, which is just to dump all over the world, to sort of just throw them out there, and then they perform their task of absolutely disrupting the entire auto industry on another level. Then it might be worth having it in England as well, or in the UK, I should say.
Right. So guys, in the comments, Giga England, Giga Sunderland, does it make sense? Is it? It does have a nice ring to it, I'll be honest.
Can I make a suggestion? Giga Market Harborough.
Giga, close to my house, but not too close. I don't want to hear it, but I want to be able to see it.
Oh, no, I want to hear it and smell it.
I tell you, man, I was in Texas and I had my friend with me. He doesn't follow Tesla. He's not interested. When I start talking about it, you'd think I'm that kid who just wants to talk about dinosaurs all day. And so what I did is I just said, we're going to just go look at the factory because it's kind of big and I wanted to show it to you. And so I took a different out of the way path so that we could approach it from the south, because that is the most majestic angle of approach. You get to see, at the time, it was the construction coming off the south end of the building. And just seeing it from that perspective, he's like, that is so huge. and I didn't tell him that that's the skinny side. And because it is a good 100 feet tall, it is an eighth of a mile wide. And then you start getting next to it, you realize it is a mile long. At highway speed, it is going to take you a full minute to drive the length of the building. And what he said, and what I agree with is, the scale defies understanding. It is large enough. When something gets big beyond a certain point, Big Ben is a great example. Big Ben is sufficiently large that you can't really wrap your head around it. It doesn't make sense at that scale. And Starship was the same. I only saw a booster. I didn't see it fully stacked. And even just looking at booster, we had a beautiful long lens to zoom in, and there's atmospheric distortion between you and the top of the rocket. It is that. Wow. It is that unfathomably large. So if they build it in your little neighborhood, you will see it, is a long way of saying that. Guys, in the comments, what do we miss? What do we misunderstand? Does Giga England make sense? Why or why not? I'm very curious. And, do me a favor and subscribe, because it really helps. It helps. And then head over to Tesla Jigsaw. Will does fantastic videos. He puts in so much work, and he deserves more love, which is why he's here. And
thanks very much, Brian.
Yeah, and I love you, Will. There you go.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. And we will meet again, I am confident. I just don't know when. So everybody else, like, subscribe, smack thumbs, even if it's only your own thumb. Be gentle with it. And stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots in Giga Will's house.